I'm super excited about this one. Guys, James, Oded, thank you so much for doing this session.
Thank you, Itzik.
I'm always amazed when it's someone else you're saying traditional, right?
Yeah, I like that you introduced us, Itik. You're leaving? I thought you were excited.
Well,
Hello, how are you all? Great to see you all. James, a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so former U.S. Army intel. That's not an oxymoron; it's a real thing. Been in cyber for about 20 years. My current role's private equity energy company. But spent 20 years in fintech. I won't lie, I missed the cloud. If anyone knows energy, cloud does not exist in energy. It's not a thing. We look at clouds, and that tells us just how much power we need to produce. So I missed the cloud, but yeah, and an early adapter of Akeyless, I will say that, and host a podcast, which
Good
you
to
should
have
all
you,
go
James.
subscribe to right now. Go ahead.
Thank you, James. A little bit about myself. Nice meeting you all. Oded, CEO and co-founder for Akeyless. Started my cybersecurity career in the Israeli Defense Forces with cybersecurity all around data centers, DevOps, DevSecOps, way before we started to call it this way. After that, working for CA Technologies within the identity and access management field. Some products, some better, some others back then. Then I went, done some other time with consumer business. That was a different life. Although I recommend. And then in 2018, 2019, together with my co-founder, we started Akeyless, Secrets and Machine Identities platform. Yeah, James, you are definitely one of our early adopters for Akeyless.
I remembered a small office. So let's talk a little bit about NHI terms. So anyone confused about what they are? Show of hands. Anyone? According to Gartner, they also include animals. So I'm going to let you explain this one, Oded, because
well, yeah. So I don't know how many of you have seen it on Gartner. It was kind of I don't know what did they try to do, but they call it animals. They also had in other papers I've read some things about aliens, etc. But let's make some have some order. So NHI, machine identities, secrets. I've seen a great summary here with secrets/credentials. How's there? What is it between them? You've heard all kind of answers, but at least according to Gartner, they're saying that it's including everything. Basically, non-humans can be everything, and within that, there are the workloads or the machines. Like machines are basically the IoT devices, the OT devices, as well as the workload within clouds and DevOps, right? So non-human is everything on that end, to include others, as they joked, as well as the machine identities, the workload identities. So the workload are types of workload plus OT is the machines. Okay, this is basically what it means. For us, we chose to hug both of those terminologies of NHI and machine identities, although specifically for us, when we look at it, it's relevant for DevOps, cloud, as well as for the OT world. We're managing secrets, credentials, certificates, keys with billions of transactions for Akeyless top retailers in the US, banking, financials, as well as international market, pharmaceutical companies, as well as others. Yeah, company based in Israel, based in headquarters here in New York, R&D in Israel. We've been around for some time. And for some of you who do know us, for the ones who do not, we've been known to be the number one alternative for HashiCorp Vault and CyberArk Conjure. We've had very good wins on that. So with regards to NHI, just to conclude on that, you'll hear great things about discovering those credentials, discovering and understanding observability around identities, where they are, etc. Within great companies that are here. Our uniqueness is focusing on protecting the objects that actually validates the identity itself, which is the secret, the credential, right? So to make sure that you're using short-lived credentials, temporary identities. We'll talk about that in a few more minutes. This is basically what we do, the short-lived certificates, to protect them actually from being stolen, to make sure that no one is using them in order to execute a breach. This is with regards to definition and where Akeyless is.
I like how they put animals and aliens in non-human. That clarified a lot for me. So, I kind of want to talk a little bit about watching a lot of the presentations today. We get an idea of how it all happens. Let's kind of move to machine identities and secrets and kind of like the different parts that go along with that. What's your take on the different parts of secrets and how to manage them?
Sure. So what we're seeing within our customers, and again, we're dealing less with the entitlements themselves or the connection between the identities, rather than protecting the object itself, the secret or credentials, right? There are many types of those. You've heard some of it: API keys, certificates, database credentials, passwords, anything that is being used between machine to machine to authenticate their identities. But within that, part of our mission and what we're explaining and what we're helping our customers with Akeyless, we're helping them to basically transform from the static credentials world, right? And you remember that from your days in Glorify and what we've done together. Basically, static secrets is what we all fear of, right? What we all want to detect, right? To discover. But then the next move is what we call the second generation of secrets, which is going to rotation. Rotation as a concept have been here in the industry for so long, and it's also famous within regulations, etc. So it's kind of standard, but happens to be that rotation is not being implemented as much as it should have been, right, for a long time. The privileged access management providers have promised to provide that for a long time. They have failed to do that with machine-to-machine identities. Some of it is working for admins and humans, but not necessarily for machines. So the second generation, and this is what first step that we help our customers with, is with rotation, to rotate to various types of endpoints and different platforms, and to write also custom rotation whenever it's needed. We rotate also the secrets also for the cloud vault, so we have an orchestration layer on that. But the third generation is actually helping our customers to move on from rotation, because rotation has a period of time. That means that even when you rotate, typically you do that once in 30 days or once a year. I've heard of some cases that are doing it more seriously, like rotation once a day, but mostly it doesn't happen on a short period of time. So what we do, we're helping our customers to move on to the next generation, which is the third one, which is working with just-in-time credentials and temporary identities. So temporary identities are the ones that basically being created when they're being requested. Imagine a Kubernetes container that is being spinned off. So it's working right now, and it requires its own permissions, like a Lambda function. So we basically go to, for example, to a certain database, create a temporary credential, providing it to the one that requested, which is a certain container. For the time that it is being used, it can be 10 minutes, it can be 1 minute, it can be 1 day. That identity will be created, and then we're deleting it. So those kind of activities, this is the third generation of working with secrets. This is the most currently that is being very much in the focus. It's not the end. We're now pushing more and more of our customers and the industry into the fourth generation, which is going secretless completely. That's a new part that has been added to our industry in the last 2 years. Some of it origins became even earlier, but today we're able to provide our customers with what you can imagine is Okta for humans. We can do that for machines. So that basically means to be the identity provider for machines and to make sure that secrets are being used and being reduced as much as possible. All right. Because if you think of it, the attack surface is basically being created and inflamed, right, by having secrets. And if you have the ability to completely reduce as much as possible the number of secrets and to leverage other advanced authentications such as the cloud authentication, SPIFFE and Spire for the ones of you who know, our own universal identity, OIDC tokens, things as such, this eventually contributes to reducing the attack vector and basically to get you to the world where just in time, even further, where secrets are not being used. It's an ideal. It will take time for the industry to go there, but definitely what we're pushing and providing solutions for, this is what we focus on.
Yeah. So you brought up kind of all of this, and now let's get brass tacks for a second. So all of this from a practitioner perspective, at least for me, means that the alignment of NHI and all these different tools has to fit into the business process where this is all getting generated into, which entails essentially a buy-in from DevOps and engineering to product to security to the whole management. And anyone ever had to do like certificate revocation things here in the past? Show of hands. Yeah. Anyone enjoy that? Larry's shooting himself in the mouth. Don't die, please. We need good people around, so don't go anywhere. But it's part of the big challenge of it. I remember as a CISO in a bank, right? Anytime we had to like change a certificate, you know how much downtime you're allowed in banks? 0. So anytime we had a certificate situation or we had to revoke some access, it became a whole story, right? 15, 20 people in a room going through this for hours trying to find the best way to do it that doesn't interfere with business. So one of the reasons I became an early adapter of Akeyless early on was simply because of that, because it allowed us to fit the solution to the business process, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about aligning security solutions and decreasing risk and increasing resiliency to the security process we're all in at the same time. And I talk about business process all the time because I think a lot of us as security practitioners get lost in risk because it's like right here, it's like a top of mind, but risk equals business process, and you got to match the two. I'm glad an event like this is happening because at the end of the day, we're seeing an increase in all of these non-human identities in an environment. I mean, spinning up databases, servers, APIs, applications. If you're not observing it, you're easily lose it. I think there was a statistic that 60 some odd percent of, S3 buckets that were breached were put up when no one knew they were out there, right? So imagine all these different identities that go in there. So if you're not observing them, if you're not managing it, and then you're not identifying the business process, you're going to have a really hard time mitigating it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Well, James, what can you share, and I'll maybe reply back with a question with regards to, once you found the secrets, right? Once you found the secrets, where are the places that that you found those secrets and you started to work them out, right? Was it a DevOps? Was it Kubernetes first? Where was it?
Yeah, so it's always DevOps, right? Because DevOps moves at a different speed than everyone else, and they move almost uncontrollably. And trying to fight DevOps, by the way, anyone here go to war with DevOps before and live through it, like with their job and friends? Did you have friends after? No, they tell you they're your friends. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, right? So you can't go through it because security in all organizations is a red line item, right? It's an investment that we're making that we don't see the returns because the returns aren't really real. Does that make sense? Like if nothing ever happens to go, why are we spending money on security? I can take you through a whole conversation like a few years ago with the board of directors where they go like, we're investing a lot, but we're not seeing a lot. And I go, that's because you're investing a lot, right? Like one matches the other, or, we don't have a lot of downtime, goes through that. So kind of the same thing applies with kind of trying to find this stuff is you can't fight DevOps. So the tools that you're implementing and bringing in have to be able to fit into their cycle. It can't be something that we break. It can't be something that makes them go more. And I'm saying stuff that we said 10 years ago, but we still haven't actualized it in a lot of these cases when it comes to actually managing those environments. And we found identities in places that you would never think to find them. Third parties, fourth parties, stuff that we found where we're kind of sending data someplace and you go like, why is data going here exactly? And start to trace that down and identify what the business use case for it is and how that doesn't work. It kind of goes into, again, brass tacks as security practitioners. Communication, communication, communication. If you're an introvert cybersecurity practitioner, you're in the wrong business. Unless you're just talking to non-human identities, aliens, and animals, you're fine, right? But if you're not, you're out of it. You've got to be building relationships, talking, and identifying. So going back to what you said, the stuff we found, what it entailed for us to eventually solve it was people feeling comfortable to tell us what they're doing. And then we're able to kind of help and build the tools into their pipeline and building that trust.
So let's talk about the the aspect of the mission criticality, right? Managing those secrets and credentials and those machine identities. Great, 5 minutes. This is exactly what we need. So with mission criticality, right? And I remember, speaking about it back then when you asked things about, how can I run this, having that those credentials need to be, they need to be provided on real time, right? This is real time, mission critical. If we're saving those, if we're protecting those credentials, rotating them, or creating them dynamically, how can we make sure that they are being provided? Because those are millions of transactions, right? Those machines, those workloads, they're basically creating those authentication, and every authentication that require that credential and how to protect that. So tell me more about that, your angle. Obviously, I'll tell more about how do we solve it.
Yeah, so I'll say it in 30 seconds because we have 3 minutes left, I believe. I mean, ideally, you're trying to make it so interchangeable, so easy, so quick that people can pull in and pull out. And that becomes part of the business process. So whenever we're trying to solve for that problem is what's our change management policy? How does that align to making that change? And how quick can we make the change? Because if you've ever had to pull a certificate or rotate credentials and you've got to do it live in real time, you don't have time for change management properly. You don't a lot of times have time to get every single person to buy in. So the platform's got to be so nimble, so smooth that you're able to do it simultaneously. It's essentially got to be, no one feels that that gap. It's
Yeah,
micro
understood. Sometimes sometimes I say to our customers, like, if you're fully deploying secrets management and machine identity is the right thing, that you don't need to open up the console because everything is automated. That's basically how it works. So exactly as James have referred to, and I'll go back to my previous comment with regards to mission criticality. The solution by protecting those credentials and protecting those machine identities basically means that we're plugging it into your DevOps environments, providing SDKs and command line interfaces and APIs, whatever needed, in order to make sure that the applications, the infrastructure, the DevOps tools, right, the Jenkins, the Ansibles, the Chef, the Puppet, the Kubernetes clusters, the OpenShifts, everything that actually have those secrets, they all would be able to basically fetch those in runtime, in real time, whenever they need it. And in the background, what we do basically is to rotate those and to make sure that they are being rotated on databases and other endpoints. And obviously, whenever being asked, to create those on demand and to delete those. So depending on which type of secret you would deploy and you implement on a certain use case, but all of those different types are capable. And as I've mentioned earlier, for the ones of you that have had those kind of conversations with their CTOs or within the IAM group or within the platform group, basically pushing more and more within your applications to go to leverage the cloud identities as well as to leverage other protocols such as OIDC tokens and to leverage identity providers such as Akeyless on that end in order to make sure that use as low number as you can with regards to secrets, right? So helping you to protect those, helping you to rotate those, to create those dynamically, and then eventually to reduce the attack surface to the maximum possible with certificates, credentials, and keys. James, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you. And thank you to the NHI team for putting this on.